Okay, first of all, welcome to the IFS program, and looking forward to working with you guys. And today's flight is going to be your flight one, your very first flight. But before we get started, what I want to do is run you through your everyday processes when you arrive here, what your expectations are with regard to where you go to get ready for your pre-flight, your documentation for your aircraft, as well as preparation for flight materials. Also your briefing for the actual flight itself. So I want to take you through that process today step by step. So first of all, I noticed that y'all came in with y'all's bag of goodies, so I want to go ahead and address some of the things that you need to make sure that you might need to bring with you on an everyday flight. And if you look in your bag that you've got right there, you've got your FAR AIM, you've got your Jeppesen handbook, maneuvers manual, so on and so forth. Most of those documents are not needed when you're here at the facilities. We usually keep a FAR AIM here. If you need to use it, you're welcome to bring it, but again, you don't have to lug it with you on every single flight. The documents that you might want to bring with you that aren't necessarily needed every flight, but you might have downtime sometimes and want to read a little bit, the maneuvers manual is a good one. Both the Jeppesen maneuvers manual as well as the maneuvers information provided to you by Flight Training of Mobile, specific to the aircraft that you're flying, either 172 or the Sting. We have a gouge printed out and written up for you that addresses maneuvers conducted in that type of aircraft that the Jeppesen maneuvers manual does not address. So you will continue to use, though, a combination of those in your generalized study, but that's something that you might want to bring with you just so if you have downtime, you've got something to look over, and it's very relevant to all of your current flying. Okay? So that's a little bit of insight on what you need to bring right now on your early lessons. On your late lessons, you'll need to bring some other things, and your logbook. Make sure you bring your logbook every single time with you because we have to do entries in it after every flight. Okay, so with that said, when you bring your stuff, when you meet here, understand that your instructor may use a different room for the briefing and preparation and debriefing. So you just got to go with whatever instructor you're assigned with as to where you're going to meet on a given day. So, usually we meet in the lobby. And then meet with your instructor and you go from there. Now, when you come here, first of all, I want to start off this process as if it's a typical day coming in to go flying from a pilot's viewpoint, not just an everyday off the street person. From a pilot standpoint, hopefully, throughout your training, you will leave your home, or the base in this particular case, and before you've left there, you're already starting some of the process. Weather will be one of those that you'll start to become familiar with in terms of evaluation and assessment for a given flight. So you'll learn that as you go along, but you'll get that. Your health, your own personal well-being, you need to assess that before you come out on any given day, because if you're feeling sick, we all know you don't have any business out flying and certainly training. And so we'll go over some measures with you in Flight Lesson 1 that has to do with a self-evaluation process, the I'm safe they call it. You may already be familiar with that acronym. There's a lot of acronyms that you're going to be facing here in flying, but that's one of them. It's just a way that we are always attentive to paying attention to ourselves, because we're the persons that make the decision on whether we're healthy enough to go fly on a given day. There's no doctor standing at the door. Okay? So with that said, there's some things that you can take in terms of preemptive measures prior to even showing up at the airport. But those are considered today. Those are considered okay. So first of all, the weather. Y'all have showed up here. I would have called you or we would have communicated prior to you coming here if there was no way that you could have flown. So with that said, hopefully you didn't leave home knowing that you had a cold. So we'll go over some of the other things here in just a little bit. But you've showed up. Those two things are in our favor to go out and conduct a flight today. Okay? So whether the next thing that generally will fall into place here, once we meet here, is to make sure that the aircraft is up to speed. Because if the aircraft is up to speed, is not up to speed, it doesn't matter how healthy I am, I can't go fly. So these are the pieces of the puzzle of putting together, you know, all these pieces in order to create a good, safe flying environment for ourselves. So generally speaking, I would say the next thing that we do once you've gotten here, you've got all, you know, all of your stuff in the appropriate room for your briefing or whatever, I tell the students, y'all go ahead and pre-flight the aircraft, make sure that it's airworthy, because if there's any issues, we need to address them before we go any further. So with that said, I'm going to take you down now to the mechanics office. That's where we keep, or they keep, the log books that we keep up with our flight times and stuff. That's where they keep the aircraft logs that keep up with the 100-hour inspection, annual inspection, all the little inspections that you're going to become familiar with. And we're going to have to go and look up those resources and familiarize you with where they are and what we're looking for. So we're going to leave here now, go down, look at that book. After that, we'll conduct a pre-flight of the aircraft. When we're deemed that that is everything is good there, then we'll come and formulate our action plan for the actual flight that we feel comfortable can occur. So again, you see, it's the process that we're after here. So this is a typical pilot's process of step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. That make sense? So we're going to stop right here. We're going to head down to the mechanics. Okay, Sean, we are assigned today to the Sting Bravo Bravo. That's right. Okay. So first thing I want you to understand, this is a board that keeps up with our times, with our next inspection due dates, so on and so forth. We trust the mechanics for making sure that the inspections are kept up. It's still a joint effort on our part because we're out there flying, they're in there working, they can't keep up with every single hour that's flown. So it's incumbent upon us to help keep up with it, but it's also federal aviation regulation that we comply with inspections, especially your annual inspection and 100-hour inspection. Okay? So, with that said, what I'm going to do here is direct your attention over here to where the books are kept. Here they've got labels on the top showing the registration number of the aircraft that you're assigned to. So you're assigned to Bravo Bravo. So if you'll come over here, Sean, and look through and see if we can find.
There we go.
Okay, so you pull that out. Now, on the front of it, they have additional information here with regard to other inspections outside of what I call the big ticket items, your 100-hour and your annual. But it's got other things like the ELT inspection, when the altimeter inspection, and so on and so forth. The thing that you want to emphasize, with urgency, if you will, is your annual inspection and 100-hour inspection. The other things, we'll talk more about them later in your flight training programs, maybe a little more detail, but in terms of making sure that you check the annual inspection, 100 inspection, every single flight. Make sure that those two are checked. So what we're going to do is look at the front of it here, and you can see it was last performed and due date. So over here, the 100-hour inspection is a big ticket item. The 50 is not regulatory. There's things that they need to do, and they'll do them in a timely fashion, but it's non-regulatory. This one is, and the annual inspection is regulatory. So over here, the annual inspection was done October 16. It is due October 17. We're good to go. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, your 100-hour inspection was last performed here. It's due in 123.5. We don't know because that's not a calendar date. We've got to flip this thing open here and look over and see if the last entry is, close to that. We still have a ways to go. Now, please notice it's over here as well. 123.5, 123.5. I'm still not going to trust this book. We're going to check it when we get in the airplane because, clearly we all know that somebody could have mucked it up down here. So we double checks here. But this gets us, in the right path. If we know that it's really close, we better go talk to the mechanics before we even go out to the airplane. You see? So in this particular case, guys, the next oil change is due in 9 more hours. So, they keep up with that. But, we still got some good flying to do here, and clearly not a problem there. And your annual inspection was in compliance. The other inspections leave it for another day, but we're good to go from that standpoint. Now, if you notice over here, when we get out to the aircraft and you go do your inspection, I'll help you get familiar with putting your date in, your last name, the instructor's last name, and then we'll be filling out the Hobbs time. I'll show you where the Hobbs is during the pre-flight inspection, and then we'll fill in our total time. So that's all we have to do there. When you're finished with the flight, we'll fill these entries in. We'll bring this back in. This is the checking in process. You'll place this back up here. You'll come over and you'll erase this with the eraser that I knocked on the floor. You'll erase that and you'll put the number on the Hobbs reading that you finished with. And that way we're keep updating. That's what the mechanics want us to do for them, so that they can come in here and do a flash check anytime they want to. And they're up to date and they don't feel that things are getting behind on them, which you can in this operation because we fly a lot. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take this, Sean. And you just hold on to it, and we will now go out and conduct a pre-flight operation.